Hello, everyone. Extremely excited to have you guys here. So much going on today. So essentially, I want to walk you through how to have a successful Mother's Day. I'm going to share with you specific products that are making as much as $171,000 per month. And obviously, Mother's Day is more competitive. Hence, it's important to really think outside the box. And that can be done as easily as having personalization. So I also have a very special guest with us. I'm going to walk you through how to do personalization a step-by-step by using Gelato and doing it directly inside Gelato. So welcome, everybody. I'm super excited to have you here. Let's get this party started because there's quite a few things I want to go over today. So what to expect today? We're going to discuss how personalization can be a game changer and help you make more money. Essentially, personalization is very intimidating for a lot of folks who are beginners in the Etsy space. Unfortunately, what they don't realize is that personalization can help you differentiate your listing, especially when you're trying to go after a more crowded marketplace, just like Mother's Day. We can all agree that Mother's Day is going to be extremely competitive, right? So I'm going to talk specifically of how personalization is going to help you differentiate yourself. I'm going to also share specific personalized products. One product specifically is making as much as $171,000 per month, which is insane. When I see those numbers, I just get all excited. So I'm going to share that with you guys. Then I'm going to share another special hacks to find ideas. You guys know that I love sharing with you guys different hacks through all my lives. And then walk you through step by step so you can actually, after the end of today's live, be able to personalize your listing and understanding the feature that you can use without having the extra headaches. So people are already shopping for Mother's Day. So something to keep into consideration, guys, is that in the UK, Mother's Day is actually March 10th. If some of you have Etsy store, you might have already seen, oh, folks are already purchasing Mother's Day gift. Well, partially it's because in the UK, like I mentioned, they already are actively shopping for gifts since it's coming up. Also, quick little note out there for you guys, and this is like something that a lot of folks don't think of. Mom in the UK is MUM versus MOM. So if you have listings that are getting traction, something as simple as changing it to MUM versus MOM, I know it sounds so simple. Well, it will make all the difference. And then Mother's Day in the US and other countries is May 12th. So these are dates that you definitely want to be conscientious of. And even though it feels very premature to start uploading Mother's Day listing, it actually is not, because you want to rank your listing. And like I said, you want to give yourself plenty of time to be successful. Now, I also want to get you excited. I want to show you how much people are going to spend, well, how much they spent actually in 2023, 35.7 billion. So Mother's Day is actually second after Christmas as far as revenue spent for gifts. Then after that comes Valentine's is after that. And by the way, the other thing about Mother's Day is that it's followed really quickly by Father's Day. There's graduation. So there's a lot of opportunities and occasions for you guys to get sales. So what's really important right now is to get all your ducks in a row, right? So needless to say, if you guys have been on Etsy for a while, you know that Mother's Day gift is extremely competitive, right? I mean, you're competing with 1,731 other listings. So you're like, okay, this is really competitive, but unlike everybody else, and this is why my method is so different than everybody else, more traffic, it actually means more potential in sales. So I used to be like you. I used to shy away from very competitive keyword because I was told you have to go for a less competitive keyword. However, I realized, well, competition is where the traffic is, and where there's traffic, well, there's money to be made. So shift your mindset. Now, you also go on Etsy right now, you do a quick search for Mother's Day and you're overwhelmed already. You're like, oh my God, there's already so many different options out there. How am I going to differentiate my listing, right? I'm sure you guys are like overwhelmed. You're like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? So not to worry, I'm going to share specifically today how you can think outside the box to start getting traction and not get intimidated by all the other sellers that are out there. So without further ado, essentially, we know that personalization is going to help you stand out, right? This can be your first step in making sure that your listing stands out from all the competition. Adding a simple element of personalization can make all the difference. However, what happens is, especially sellers who are just getting started, they get intimidated by personalization because they are completely overwhelmed. They know that there's multiple softwares available out there for them to do it, but for whatever reason, they don't feel like jumping on into these softwares because either they feel it's overwhelming and they're not ready because they're still dabbling. And I get that. So here's the famous sweatshirt that is making an estimated $171,000 in revenue. And the other thing that is worth noting is that this listing has only been live for 5 months, which is incredible because a lot of time folks get intimidated and they think the reason I'm not getting any success is because I was late to the game. But that's a misconception, guys. There's plenty of folks who are able to go from 0 to making 6 figures. Now, the only thing missing and the only difference is that they have the knowledge, they understand how Etsy works, and you're just not quite there yet, which is fine, right? We all learn and make our listings better and better to understand, okay, how can I understand what is doing well in order to make sure that I have the proper listing out there? So a couple things to be mentioned about the specific listing. First of all, it's very, very simple, but notice how it includes the name of all your different family members in the sleeve. Something as simple as that, right? This personalized factor is something very emotional. Obviously, any mother would want to have the name of her family on her sleeve, right? This is something very simple, but the reason it's converting so well is because it's highly emotional. There's lots of emotions behind it. Does that make sense, guys? So this is like the perfect example of something that is so simple. I'm sure a lot of you are like, I can't believe this is getting so many sales. But the reason it's doing so well, it's because there's this element of personalization and also emotional factor, right? Very, very smart way of doing that. Does that make sense, guys? Say yes if it does, or no if it doesn't. I'm reading the comments, so let me know. Therefore, obviously this has already been done, right? Another example that I want to share, this is more like a couples hoodie, but this has been doing really well for a while. As you can see, this one has been around for longer now, for about 14 months, so over a year. And it's very simple. It's Roman numerals. So the date of whether anniversary, engagement gift, or a date when the couple met each other. And then they are matching sweatshirts with their, usually I've seen with initial of the couple. In this case, it says, I love you. And very strong numbers here as well, right? The estimated monthly revenue is $56,000. So same thing here. It's a personalized apparel item, right? So you're like, okay, great. These ideas are awesome, but how do I take these ideas and differentiate myself in the marketplace? Because obviously it's already been done. So it's a little too late. But the thing is, when you're gathering data, there's that first phase of you understanding what is out there, right? So essentially, you're getting clues everywhere to understand what is out there, what is doing well, what are people into. So this is giving us insight that there's demand for this. This is what it's doing. It's like, okay, people are really into these sweatshirts. that are personalized. Okay, good insight, right? So usually what happens is everybody else focuses on low competition keyword. And while I'm not saying the strategy does not work, it does work, right? Because it's really good for newbies to get their feet wet. But the problem with that method is that you're not necessarily going to get a lot of traffic. And when you don't get a lot of traffic, you don't get a lot of sales. So you find yourself not able to sustain your store because essentially what you're doing is you're always going after these niches that don't have a lot of traffic. So you find yourself only getting one sale a month, one sale every other week, whatever that is. Versus my method is very outside the box. I go after demand and I'm not scared of a little competition. So one little hack that I want to share with you guys today is the power of Google Trends. And I'm actually in shock that a lot of folks don't discuss the power of Google Trends. It's a very simple tool. So right now, go on your browser. If you've never been on Google Trends, I know some of you already know the software. Just go on Google Trends and do Mother's Day gift. Like try different keywords. You'll see you'll be able to open different tab. Mother's Day gift, mom gift, etc. Notice how I have insights about what is breaking out. And what is breaking out, it means that there's a spike in the search volume and people are actively searching these gifts. This is a type of information I would have never found on eRank, which again, I love eRank, don't get me wrong, but eRank only can get you so far. You have to grab data from multiple places to understand where there's demand. And Google Trends is a great way for you to do that. I also shared another one last week, but this is another hack that I want to share with you. So mom era sweatshirts are breaking out. We can see there's boy mom era, girl mom era. Great. So what do we do next? What we do next is we go on Etsy and we start looking for insights as to what is doing well. So in my mom era, and by the way, guys, so the reason this is doing well is because it's Taylor Swift. Now with Taylor Swift, you have to be extremely careful because it's very, very trademarked, right? However, for you to say in my mom era is vanilla. It's fine, right? As long as you don't do any mentions whatsoever of Taylor Swift inside your title. Do not do any of that, right? But it's something that's been trending for a while, right? So the estimated monthly revenue of something like this is 7,000, which is great. And then notice this has been, it's only been live for about 4 months. This is another one, which is getting a little less sales, but same, it's decent revenue and they're ranking little by little their listings. And notice how they also included new mom and pregnancy. So this gives me insight that this is also a sweatshirt for new moms. So there could be opportunities, not just with mom, the generic mom term, but also new moms. And by the way, there's like different opportunities within Mother's Day. Like people get caught up in the generic keyword and gift idea of just giving it to one mom. But at the end of the day, you have to remember there's different kinds of customers and there's different kinds of what we call marketing avatar, right? So what kind of mom are you giving this item to? Is it a new mom? Is it a mom who, in this case, look, I'm going to share with you. Is it a baseball mom? So same here. Notice how the revenue is a little lesser here because obviously it's a little bit more niche. However, there's still plenty of opportunities here, right? So now we have different kinds of insights, right? We know that essentially there's opportunities in the apparel space. We know that personalized items are doing well. We know that it's driving very healthy traffic and revenue. And now we have another piece of insight. Okay, eras, like in my mom era, that's doing really well and people are actively searching for that. So what do you think we need to do next, right? Well, we need to make an irresistible listing, right? Because people buy emotion. So psychology is going to be your hack to success. But don't worry, I'm going to show you specifically how to do that. So like I mentioned earlier, when I shared the first listing, The reason it's so successful is because they had that sleeve element, which, by the way, the sleeves have been trending for a while now on Etsy. And the ability to add all your family members in the sleeve has that extra emotional factor, which, by the way, guys, we're not necessarily seeing that here. In this case, we are, where you can include in the pocket area the name of your son or daughter along with the number of their team. So that's actually very smart. However, we did not see that here, which could be another reason why it's not selling as well as some of the other items, okay? So very simple. The concept of blending trends, which is something that I talk about inside my course. Blending trends or blending ideas is where the magic happens. And unfortunately, this is where a lot of people get stuck. And part of it is simply because it takes time to understand what to blend. This is not a skill set that happens overnight. So overall, most folks I've seen from being active inside my membership and my coaching program, what I see them do is that they blend ideas that don't really go well together. And so you have to understand how to identify different potential ideas that actually would go well together. So in this case, for instance, like perhaps not this one, but like we would take an idea. We know that in my mom era is doing well, or in my baseball mom era, like maybe you want to have all the list of all your children who play baseball. Or maybe you want to have a list of the teammates, or I don't know, like, so essentially you have to take elements. You're essentially looking at what is doing well, what is trending, how can I mix it and put it together, right? And so the thing is, this is extremely powerful. And once you understand that, you will get results. However, what happens is that most folks get intimidated. They don't see results. They upload just a few listings and they feel defeated. Nothing is easy. As somebody who's been doing this for 10 plus years, let me tell you, I'm ashamed to publicly share how many failures I've had. And part of the failures that I've had was because I jumped from side hustle to side hustle thinking, oh, this could be easier, instead of focusing my efforts in one place. Now I see a lot of folks who are promoting TikTok shop, TikTok affiliate, and all that. And I'm not saying there's not opportunities for there to be successful. However, it's important for you to really stick to one thing. And it's almost like you need to have the knowledge of knowing how to do one thing well. And then you stack on and add all your knowledge base, right? So it's like one thing after the next, So you reach different levels through your journey. So with all that said, I'm sharing one specific example here. Like in today's live, I'm sharing possibilities within apparel, but there's plenty of other opportunities, right? I just wanted to show you one specific example and show you the thought process that goes into it. So one specific part of it is understanding, just simply going on Etsy, by the way. Simply go on Etsy, go and start writing mom gift or Mother's Day gift, see what you find, get insight as to what is bestsellers, how many people have this item on their cart, take a screenshot, put it on a slide, and then from there, start thinking, okay, so this is working. Notice how I added that filter of understanding what are people into. The reason I do that, guys, is very simple. It's because this is a way to differentiate my listing from everybody else. And then on top of it, it's to understand what are people into. A very simple example that I love to give, which is so obvious. During the pandemic, there was a higher demand for masks versus now that demand is gone, right? So even though it's a product-specific demand example, this also relates to everyday things. Think of fashion, right? Like fashion is ever evolving. But if you walked around in the streets of New York City dressed as if you would in the 1900s, early 1900s, well, you probably would get some strange looks, right? So they probably would think you're like a performer or whatnot. So this is the same concept I'm trying to explain to you very in most simplistic term. Like, I know I'm simplifying it, but that is actually where the sauce is. This is why most folks are not successful. So without further ado, your next question is, okay, so awesome. This is great, Luna, but like, how do I personalize my listing? Like, let's get to the action. Did I get kicked out? Oh my God, I've been talking to myself the whole time. Okay, guys, let me know, where did I get kicked out? Because I don't even remember. I was like talking to myself the whole time. Awesome. You're back. So guys, let me know, where did I drop off so I can share my screen again. Goodness. Sorry about that. I've been talking to myself for like, okay, last minute. Okay, so one sec. There we go. Okay, so essentially, yes. Okay, got it. Personalization. Thank you, guys. So you're probably wondering, okay, so how can I personalize my listing? You know that you need to have an understanding of what trends are. A very simple example I like to give is during the pandemic, we wanted to sell, like we needed masks, right? Because it's something that we needed to have in public spaces and whatnot. So hence there was more of a demand for masks. And this is product specific. Fine. Obviously, now in 2024, there's no more of a demand for masks. So this is why when you are uploading listings, you need to be very conscientious of where the demand is. Another example that I like to give is, fashion, right? So if you were to go in the streets of New York City dressed in with a costume or dressed as if you were in the early 1900s, you would get a lot of looks and folks would be like, oh, this is probably an actor or a street performer, etc. So there's a disconnect. So obviously I'm giving you very, very drastic examples, but the reason I bring that up is because the same needs to apply with your listing when you upload on Etsy. You need to be conscientious of what is going on, and not just from a pop culture standpoint, right? It's not just pop culture. It's it's understanding what are people into, right? What people are into in 2024 is different than what they were into in 2020. Like, things evolve, right? Fashion evolves. And that's the other thing. A lot of folks often tell me like, okay, but it's too saturated. How long have we had t-shirts in the world? Like, this is again a very, very simplified example, but apparel has been around forever. And what differentiates an apparel brand, there's actually an apparel brand that went completely viral a couple years ago. I can't remember the name, I apologize, but all that to say is that they were able to position their product differently. And that's how they were able to get a lot of traction, right? So you could still be successful selling a white t-shirt, but you need to position your white t-shirt in a certain way. So it's kind of like part of branding, positioning, and all that. The good news with Etsy is that you don't necessarily need to do all that branding work. This is another reason why I love Etsy, by the way, because it's very beginner friendly. This is something that you would have to do if you had a Shopify store and you created your own brand, but with Etsy, you just have to understand what are all the ingredients for me to have a successful listing. So without further ado, I want to introduce the folks at Gelato. Let me add Sadi to the stage because I want to share with you specifically how you can start personalizing today. So something to know about Gelato, and the reason that I have loved using them, is that they have production partners in 32 countries, which actually gives me an edge over other Etsy sellers. They have, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Usually I only share this with my coaching students, but I'm feeling generous today. So they actually have production facilities in Australia. And Australia is actually an amazing market. So yeah, it doesn't have as much traffic as the US, but a lot of these apparel competitors focus solely in the US market. And by being a little cheeky and essentially adding Australia to your production profile, obviously you would have to have Gelato because they're the only ones who provide that functionality. And you have to double check which products are available. I know simple t-shirts are. Well, you can penetrate into different geolocations, right? So just so you know, guys, as well, when it comes to Etsy does have active customers in Europe. It does have active customer in Australia. I mean, actually, during the pandemic, I remember shipping quite a few things to Australia and having a little bit of technical hiccups because it would take a month. And sometimes during the pandemic, items got lost, but you would not have this technical hiccups. And this is a great way to get a little pie of the traffic, right? So this is one reason I love Gelato, besides a lot of other reasons. But without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm gonna let Sadi walk us through. First and foremost, I want him to share what these sweatshirt looks like. So just so you know, guys, Gelato came out with embroidery sweatshirts as of recently that look badass. I want to show you guys what it looks like. And then after that, I actually want to walk you through exactly how you can personalize a sweatshirt if this is something you're interested in doing for Mother's Day, right inside Gelato. So it's very, very beginner friendly. So without further ado, let's welcome Sadi from Gelato. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Luna. How are you today?
Good.
So I'm super excited to be here. And actually, I happen to have one of those sweatshirts. In this case, it's a hoodie, but you can see that we have embroidery on it on the sleeves. Here you have, because it said hot sauce, it's a pun on the pepper and the fire.
I love that.
This is out for caps, soon on bags, polos. So you don't need to feel very limited to hoodies. You could expand it into other categories as well.
I love that. Yeah, and embroidered sweatshirts are very, very popular right now. Within Printify, you're kind of limited as to who you can do it with. And I like Gelato because with Gelato, it's very easy as well to personalize the item. So I would love for you to walk them through, if they were interested in doing like a personalized sweatshirt, like how they can do it directly in the platform so they can hit the ground running after today's live.
Yes, absolutely. So it's super easy to get started. So first thing I would like to show you is the end result as it's your listing on your site, right? I like that we can visualize it. So here's one I created. And before I even saw your slides, I took one hoodie and a sleeve for it. So here's a typical personalized listing. I'm sure all of you are aware, Etsy gives you one field for personalization. You basically tell your customers how to personalize a product, and then they add to cart, order it, and then the fulfillment begins, right? So with Personalization Studio, we've actually streamlined this process quite a lot. So here with Gelato, it's a very easy sign-up process. I'm sure, Luna, you're going to tell them how to get started. But afterwards, all you need to do is connect your Etsy store. It takes a few minutes. In this presentation, I'll just assume you have an Etsy store connected. If not, we'll guide you through all the way. But I do happen to have an Etsy store. So once you enter it, you have your whole catalog, everywhere from men's clothing, women's clothing, wall art, phone cases. But in this case, let's focus on Mother's Day, right? So we can go, and I like to design a hoodie. There are a lot of selections from classic to zip, but in this case, I'd like to go with our bestseller, which is the premium unisex hoodie. So we do have direct to garment, but let's spice it up and make it more exciting with embroidery. So with the embroidery, you have a couple options. You could do the left chest or the pocket area. You could have a center chest. You could have the large chest. So there are endless possibilities on the placements you're putting. Based on what you're seeing on Etsy, you might want to choose to have it on different places. Here, I'll show you how to create a personalized item on your left wrist, just like I've shown you here a second ago. So we'll create this step by step exactly, right? So if I go back here, it's all about coming here into this tab called Personalize, and all you need to do is add a layer of text. We support a bunch of different fonts. So in
I love
my
how beginner
particular
friendly
case,
this is, by the way. Sorry to cut you off.
no worries. Please do feel free to have comments in between. Yeah, so the editor is pretty straightforward. You should feel familiar because it is familiar to most of the tools you would be using elsewhere also. You could change your font size. I will just make this a sample text. Let's call it Josh. So we'll just create family member names, right? Just to make it very simple and friendly. And then one very cool feature we have is called automated Etsy personalization. What that means is, I'll go to this tab again. So here is sample placeholder names, right? In the example you shown, Luna, it said Mia and Noah and other names. Here, what we allow you to do is, instead of you going into your design editor, whatever tool you use, Canva, InDesign, Adobe Suite, actually we do the transformation for you automatically. And I will show you that in a second, but you could basically, after your listing starts to pick up, start running your personalized products on autopilot. So, but let's just finish setting up, and then I will show you the other fun parts. So one important thing you need to do is you need to name this layer as to what the personalization type is. What that means is, if it's a name, you just put name 1. If it's a date, just like the Roman numerals, you would have to name the field date. And I will explain why that makes sense in a second. And let's just have a couple placeholders. You can just easily copy paste. Let's have my second placeholder name as Mia, name 2, and then let's make the final one, let's say, Alex. And I mean, afterwards, you can, of course, follow this along, right? And then we also give you out-of-the-box graphics. If you don't have your graphics with you, it's okay. You can pick it from all the ones that are available to you. Let's assume this is a musical family. So we put a personalized graphic here, or this one is not personalized. You can choose what needs to be personalized or not. And here you can see it's just called Gclef, but it's other layers. It means this one is not going to get personalized, but all of the others are, because we have turned on personalization for this. And it's as simple as that. So you could also change the thread color for these, because on embroidery, it's important to offer different options for your customers, right? And if it's a more complex color, you could have added that too. So actually, let me show you something very cool. So after you finish this, you would just go through the steps that we allow you to publish a product to your store. So here you would select your mockups. You could have selected it on different models. You could have shown the close-up shots. Here, I usually like showing some of the texture of the product, showing how premium the material is. And then finally, once you're happy selecting your different mockups, you would just continue to details. We could just name this something as Mother's Day personalized hoodie, right? And then one very cool thing is you don't need to do these settings in Etsy. You could just set your personalization instructions inside of Gelato. So here you could give instructions to your customers. And that's a very important point that you need to remember when you publish a personalized product inside of your Etsy listing settings. You will need to turn on personalization and give your customers specific instructions. So that's a very important.
And is it going to populate directly from what they're writing inside the personalized tab, or it's going to give them a link to an email?
No, this is going to directly populate from there, and I'm going to show you how cool that is.
This is amazing. It's a game changer, guys. It really is.
So I would just simply say, please enter the names you would like to have. So name 1, name 2, name 3. And then I would select my prices. In the pricing step, you could actually see because I'm in Norway, I see it in the Norway market. You could have set this for any market you want in the margin you wanted, right? One very cool thing is you could have saved this as a template. Saving this as a template means you can recreate new products again and again with the same settings, but you can just change a little element. You can change the graphic in it, you could change the text in it, and then publish, right? But now I'm just going to have a simple publish. And as that's loading, I don't want to take much of your time because I have actually went ahead and placed an order. And I would like to show you how cool it is that how it automatically got fulfilled for me.
I love that.
Here is a order I placed. And here in the Gelato order details page, you can see several pieces of information. You know how in Etsy you have message the seller? Well, we have placed it here for you to see immediately.
Great.
Here is the personalization request that your customers would be sending you to personalize, right? And here's the cool part. Check this out. The product we have created initially said Josh, Amy, Cassandra. But if I come back to the order, you will see that the personalization request says Annie, Amy, Anthony. And check this out. If I go into the preview of my product, you will see that it has been personalized automatically for you. Because in the background, there's an AI running that reads the personalization requests and automatically transforms the design for you. So if you want to run this on autopilot, you don't need to lift a finger. It's going to get auto-applied.
This is a game changer, guys. It really is, because no one gives you that ability to make it this easy, where it actually reads the personalization. So definitely a game changer. And quick question, just being devil's advocate here. What if a customer were to add 4 names instead of 3? Could you add the field?
Yes. So here is where the 2 flows we enable you to do comes into play. Here you say pending approval. It is because I have turned on a setting that says I want my orders to be manually approved by me because I want to have full control over my business. In that very case, you would just click approve, and then you would edit the design before you fulfill the order. So let's say the last name was something else, right? I could have very much easily come here and added a 4th name, make a slight adjustment.
So I can edit it.
And then, yes, exactly.
That's awesome.
And once I save this product is now, I mean, let's call it Sally to shake things up. And then I just save. And when I place this order, I don't need to re-enter the address. The address is already there. Everything is already there. I just need to proceed and check out. So
this is amazing.
Yep.
And I love as well that you guys are connected to the Etsy API, and I can directly message back my customer inside Gelato. As Etsy sellers, we find ourselves navigating through different tools, whether it's going directly back to Etsy to enter customers, obviously going back to our print-on-demand tool that we're using, doing a lot of things manually, trying to find third-party tools to help you through managing all the personalization. So guys, all that to say that if you are more on the beginner side and you're just getting your feet wet, this is an easy way for you to start testing the personalization and adding that into your listings, right? As well as if you're already more skilled and have been doing Etsy for a while. But I'm just saying, like, now, essentially, it's made it so much easier for you guys because all you have to do is set up that personalization and start testing these product ideas with the sleeve. We know the sleeve is doing really well. So obviously, after that, it's important to have the right thumbnails, like understanding the kind of listing you want to be putting out there, etc. But all the logistical parts, which include personalization, going back and forth, which can be very time consuming, especially once you're starting getting hundreds of orders a day. A lot of times, this is why people get intimidated by personalization. And now you don't have that. You can strictly focus on your brand. I love that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty streamlined when it comes to operations. One little comment there, though. The personalization message is the only thing you'll see, and the special request by the customer, whilst we show it, you wouldn't send back a message, i.e., if someone sent you an Etsy message, you wouldn't necessarily be able to respond back. But if the order was placed with a specialized message, I want this before January 29 or before Mother's Day, then you would see it in there so you could act quickly. So let's assume you have 50 orders a day. You could just quickly go through there without having to change tabs and go to Etsy, come back to Gelato, and fulfill those things.
So I'm going to answer a few questions that came up. If clients only has one name, so Alina, if the client only has one name, you would go back to the design like Sadie showed us and change it accordingly. It would auto-populate. You would just probably have to replace the, essentially like manually go and like place it accordingly. You can also add multiple names if the customer added multiple names. Somebody else is asking about Shopify. So if you were to do Shopify through CED Commerce, so Gelato has a Shopify integration. So there's multiple ways you can do it. You probably would want to do Shopify integration and Etsy integration within Gelato, because with CED Commerce, if you do it that way, it's not going to connect to the software, because you're always going to have to go back to the Gelato software for them to be able to get the data, right? Because they're using AI, so they need to fetch the data from Etsy. But so you could still post on both platforms, right? But you're going to have two different listings. One that's specific for Etsy and one that's specific for Shopify.
Well, if I can just jump in, the Shopify direct integration is like you directly connect, so you don't need to have an integrator. But whilst you're creating your Etsy listings, you remember I showed you this template button?
Yeah.
So if you were to save it as a template,
yeah,
you could also publish to your Shopify store just like that. You don't need to recreate it.
Oh, that's great.
Listing.
So essentially you use the template. So you'd have your Shopify and your Etsy integrated. You use the template and essentially you just publish it.
Exactly. You could have had Amazon as well. You just have a template. You then disperse from there. That's the power of using the templates there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And guys, the other reason why you want to have templates, something that I see done and redone, is folks upload an idea once and they don't create variations. It's important for you when you are planting seeds, right? You want to make sure that you have as many different variations as possible. So having a template is going to help you save so much time when you're uploading listings. Okay, so I think we have all the questions answered. So essentially, guys, so people are asking me about Gelato's price. So one sec, let me share my screen here, because you guys have a special offer today, actually, that I want to share. So if you join today with my link, essentially what you're going to get, what you're going to get is, hold on here. Sorry, guys. Oh, I know what it's doing. Sorry, one sec. Let me stop sharing here. I'm having a little technical difficulties over here. Sorry about that. So present. There we go. I wrote it all down for you guys. Okay. So by signing up today, you will get Gelato for free, like a 30-day trial. So 30 days for free, right? The subscription includes premium mockup tools, presentation of your products, design tools, a design editor, which you just saw, stock images which are included in the design editor, custom labels, which, by the way, guys, so this is another thing that I absolutely love about Gelato. So if you are just getting started on Etsy, don't worry so much about that. But as you evolve in your journey, you have the capability of branding your products. And this is huge. So I know that Printful use has that capability, but not to the extent that Gelato has. So for instance, if you are in the process of creating a brand, let's say it's an apparel brand, you can add your brand name in the sticker in the back. You can also include a card to entice people to go back to your website. So this is if you have also a Shopify store. And then you can also brand your packaging. This is huge, especially as you scale as a business. So you have that capability. And then within that as well, I remember you telling me, Sadi, that the personalization is different, right? How much is it per product?
Yeah, I can just jump in. Personalization is through a service called Personalization Studio, and Personalization Studio is completely free to get started. It's 14-day free trial, but even after that, you can choose a plan that is tier 0. So it's basically completely free, and you will only be paying if you sell an item. So let's say you can have 40, 50, 100 listings, but you will only pay a single euro if you make a sale, and then you will pay as you go. And then once you determine it makes sense for you, you can move up some other tiers. So you pay a monthly flat fee and you get a certain number of free orders, right?
This is
So
great.
it's completely free to start.
No, this is great because exactly, a lot of folks get intimidated because a lot of the third-party personalization tools have monthly fees, which is to be expected, guys. Like, you know, they're helping you not having to hire a VA. But with Gelato, essentially, you're only paying for the customization once you actually get the order, which is a game changer once you have the subscription. So another thing I want to share with you guys actually is the products that are available in Gelato as well. So give me a second to share that because they have an array of different products that you can sell. Because I know some people are like, oh, can this be? So Gelato is a print-on-demand supplier, to be very clear. It's not a third-party tool. You have access to apparel. Like I mentioned, you also have access to embroidery as well, which is an absolute game changer. Not a lot of POD have that. You have phone cases, which I've been talking a lot about recently. Phone cases are getting really good traction right now on Etsy. So, and the prices are great. You can easily resell them for 28 to as much as 32 plus shipping. What else? Tote bags are another one that are going absolutely viral right now, and they're going to do really well for Mother's Day. You have mugs, you have photo books as well. So photo books could be interesting if you are doing digital products right now and you have one that's a bestseller. You might want to consider creating a photo book version, or like there's plenty of opportunities here, like custom calendars. It's a little too late for that, but this was, I've talked about this inside my membership for January 1st or the whole month of January. So you have pretty much apparel, you have mugs, lots of really good staples overall that will, and so not just good staples, but also the ability to tap into production partners that are in 32 countries. Because something that I've noticed and I've ran across on with Printify is that sometimes their partners are in China. So you have to be really careful as to who you pick when it comes to production partner. For this, you're usually able to find a production partner specifically in Europe, obviously in the US, some in Australia. I mean, you even have access to the Asian market. Unfortunately, Etsy's not as present in Asia, but if you have a Shopify store, this is really good for you to know that you have all these different possibilities. So with all that said, oops, Sadi, I kicked you out. I'm sorry. I want to go back to the to-do list, and I want to give you guys to-dos to make sure that you start getting traction and what to do after this call. So let me go over that. So what to do next? Let me see. Where's my screen? Stop screen. Share screen. Here we go. All right. And yes, somebody's asking if you have to design to Gelato directly. Yes. So for the personalization, you would add that directly on Gelato, and your design you could do it on Canva, whatever, you can upload it, or you also have access to a lot of the different icons and stock images, which have commercial use. Okay, so what I want you to do after today's live is first, I want you to pick one product idea. A lot of times it could be a little overwhelming, and I know there's all these different options, and I'm guilty. I give you guys lots of different ideas. I just can't help it. I want to see you guys succeed. So pick one product. Today we shared all the opportunities for sweatshirts and embroidered sweatshirt and adding the sleeve name. So perhaps pick that today, right? And then I really want you to do the exercise of blending ideas together, which, yes, that's the hard part. And it takes time, right? Like, as somebody who's been doing this for a while, it's much easier for me because I have experience and I've been through the school of hard knocks. I know what works and what doesn't. When you're just starting out, be easy with yourself. It's an ongoing process, right? So blending ideas together is where it gets a little tricky. But then I want you to plant multiple seeds. I love to give the analogy that Etsy is just a big field with lots of opportunities, different keywords, different people buying different products, etc. And as a seller, you need to plant as many different seeds as possible to see which one is going to help you bear fruit and actually make you money. So when you are uploading listings, remember that, and this is for everybody, every top seller, there's going to be maybe like 10% of your listings who are going to make you the most money. But to get to that, you need to plant multiple seeds. Also, some seeds, or it's just like plants. Like I want you, when you are thinking of Etsy, to look at yourself kind of as a farmer. That's the best analogy I can give you. Some plants are going to grow fast and some aren't. And why is that? It just all depends on the Etsy algo. That's just how it is, right? So plant multiple seeds and have a strategy in place, right? So after today's call, I'm sharing here an Excel sheet that I share inside my course and coaching program. So essentially, you include the trend, you include the product that you want to do, in this case, sweatshirt. You include the niches you want to go after. Then you have your ideas in one place. This could be URL, all the Etsy listings you found. You include the search volumes, you include the tags. So you want to be as methodical as possible. I would say majority of folks as well, the reason they aren't successful is because they treat Etsy as a hobby, which I understand. When you're getting started, you're kind of juggling between multiple things, but you have to treat it as a business and you have to be more methodical, especially if you want to get results, right? So have a strategy in place. And most importantly, do not give up, guys, because over time, what I've noticed is that folks who give up end up feeling frustrated. They jump from one thing to the other, and they just find themselves like running to these vicious loops when they're just not able to get any results. You have to remember that you're building the foundation to a business, right? And when you're building the foundation to a business, the first part and the hardest part is putting all the pieces together. When I first started on Etsy, I was putting 12-hour days. I mean, I'm not joking. Like, people thought I was crazy, but that's what was necessary for me to have a successful business. So guys, for today, make sure to sign up to Gelato if you're interested in doing personalization. They're a really friendly tool to use. You also have, with my link, so gelato.com/Luna, you have the 30-day free trial membership. With personalization, you only get charged once you get actual sales. So it's a great way for you to test ideas and get started. And if you need more help, just know that I have a Facebook group community. I know a lot of you guys are watching from inside the community, so make sure to join. And Sadi, is there anything else that you want to share?
That's about it. You covered everything. If by any chance people have questions, here at Gelato, we love interacting with our customers, so you could reach out to me or my colleagues. I'm sure, Luna, you can give them my contact info when necessary, but we just love building with you. So
Yeah,
happy
no,
to
and
be
I
here.
love working with you guys because I love how essentially you're thinking in a very international manner and understanding that there's so many opportunities. And another thing too worth noting, guys, so even though when it comes to traffic, majority of the traffic on Etsy is like in the US, a lot of folks are so focused in the US that they fail to seize opportunities in other markets. So there's just a lot of other opportunities in other markets, and it's just a matter of you testing out what is possible. Now you have a partner, a print-on-demand partner that can help you playing around to see where there's opportunity. Australia is completely untapped. I can't believe I let that out of the bag. But so start thinking about where you are in your journey. Do you have any listings that are getting traction? If you're still at the very beginning stage, start with just the US, right? And expand from there, because that's just going to be easier for you. What a lot of folks end up doing is that they have too many things that they want to accomplish. And you have to remember, proceed with by blocks. Block one, okay, get really good at uploading an irresistible listing. Once you get to stage 2, which is I'm starting to have daily sales, then you can introduce some other items, right? Somebody's asking, can you do a TTG and embroidery on the same product? Sadi.
So here you would have them as separate listings.
You'd have
Currently,
them on
even though
separate.
it's the same product, even if it's, let's say, this hoodie right here, you would have one listing as a DTG and one listing as a embroidery.
And actually, guys, like that's a great way as well for you to, like I said, plant different seeds and see what's going to work, right? So thank you so much, guys. This was an amazing live. You will have the replay available on YouTube and also inside the Facebook group. And if you have any questions, add them in the comment section and we'll do our best to answer all your questions. And most importantly, if you haven't yet, join the Facebook group, and we'll see you guys inside Gelato. I can't wait. Talk to you guys soon. Have a gorgeous day.